They were the class of '78, the 9 fastest stock car drivers in the world. Today, they are the clash of '79, the top drivers, the fastest cars in perhaps the ultimate race. 20 laps, just 50 miles for $150,000. Starting 9th, winner of 3 pole positions in '78, car 5, Neil Bonnet. In 8th position, the 1976 Daytona 500 champion, the Silver Fox, David Pearson. At 7th position, car 11, 2-time Daytona champion, Cale Yarborough. Place 6, car 54, the Virginian, Lenny Pond. Spotted 5th, car 70, 16-year veteran, J.D. Daytona. Ever over 200 miles per hour to stock Allison. In the 3rd position, first driver ever over 200 miles per hour in a stock car, Buddy Baker. Outside of row 1, the flamboyant, controversial Darrell Waltrip. And on the pole for the Busch Clash, winner of the 1975 Daytona 500, Benny Parsons. CBS Sports presents the Busch Clash of '79. Sponsored by Anheuser-Busch, brewers of Budweiser, Busch, Natural, Michelob. From the world's finest motor speedway, the 2.5-mile high bank Daytona International Speedway, welcome to the richest race per mile in the history of automobile racing. With Brock Yates and the well-known race driver David Hobbs, I'm Ken Squire, ready to watch a race that pays $50,000 for 18 minutes work, $18,000 for second place, Dan.
Well, it's going to be a fantastic race, and I'm sure that it's going to be the highest speed ever performed in a race. They're probably going to average round about 190 miles an hour for the 50 miles.
9 cars. Let's describe how they elected the pole position.
Well, qualifying wasn't quite as dangerous for this race as it is for some races. On the other hand, when the starter's flag dropped, it did have its lighter moments. As you can see here, while they all desperately scrabbled around for their numbers, in there, Buddy Baker trying to scratch off the wrong number.
And Benny Parsons came out victorious in the easiest run he's ever had for the pole. Let's go to Brock Yates in the pits.
Thanks, Ken. This has got to be the most off-the-wall race you've probably ever seen. These guys have had very little practice, especially running in any kind of traffic, and nobody's really sure about the kind of chassis setups that they're going to need. Remember this, too, that there will be, obviously, no pit stops, but during any kind of an extended yellow, the cars can come in and probably be worked on. Nobody's going to make any tire changes, according to everybody that I've talked to, but they may make some quick repairs or some chassis adjustments. Don't forget, too, that the yellow flags don't count during this race. So it's 20 miles or 20 laps, 50 miles flat out this time. Back to you.
Cale Yarborough cinching up the seatbelt on car number 11 earlier today. He blew the engine in the automobile. They've made an engine change, as did David Pearson earlier today. So 2 of them are running on relatively untried, untested motors. The field rolls out for the Busch Clash of '79, and we'll be back with a start in a moment. There you see the 9 automobiles vying for $150,000. $50,000 for first, 18 for second, just 20 laps away from the start. The front row, Benny Parsons and Darrell Waltrip. In row 2 will be Buddy Baker, Bobby Allison. Row 3, J.D. McDuffie and Lenny Pond. In row 4, it's Cale Yarborough and David Pearson, and in row 5, Neil Bonnet. Preliminary lap. Field getting ready to drop off. The auxiliary pace cars, and we will be ready for the start of this Busch Clash of '79. The 9 fastest cars of the year, David.
Well, this should be absolutely unbelievable dash, as you say, to the finish line. It's only 50 miles away. It'll take just a few short minutes, and I'm expecting the average speed of this race to be over 190 miles an hour, going on the qualifying and practice speeds that these guys have been running this week.
What are the thoughts of Cale Yarborough about this race?
They've created a monster. To win, you'll have to beat 8 of the best guys in the business.
The thoughts of Buddy Baker, the pole sitter for the Daytona 500.
When the flag drops, I'm going to get both feet flat on the floor for 50 miles.
And the thoughts of Benny Parsons, a former winner here.
The secret is to be in the right place on the last lap. I wish I knew what that place was.
And how about the thoughts of the one and only Darrell Waltrip?
First place pays $50,000 and second place pays $18,000. What else I got to say?
Just about covered it, doesn't it?
Field rolls down for the start. Pace cars are coming off. In the back straightaway, you see them. The 9 fastest cars of 1979. All of them just about committed, for the most part, Oldsmobiles. We have a Thunderbird by Bobby Allison, the Mercury of David Pearson. The rest of the field Olds for this first Busch Clash.
Mercury.
The fastest cars there were in 78, fastest drivers, now move to the line. It's just 20 laps, 50 miles, 150 grand at stake.
And the track coming off turn 4 up to the start finish line, the start of the tri-oval, is very, very dusty. This could be, look at it there, you can see it all blowing out from under the wheels of these Grand National cars as they come down to take the start.
All of these drivers back tomorrow in the Daytona 500. Flagmanship worn, easing the field into the tri-oval, 15 degrees, and they are underway. Pearson immediately brakes on the outside. They pick up speed from 70 to 80, up to 90, and they hit turn 1. They should be about 120 and still on the boards. They will not get to full song until they're down to turn 3. Waltrip breaks for the lead. Bobby Allison on the outside for second. Baker into third. About 160 the speed right now, and then they begin to really let them out on the back straightaway for the first time. Dropping to the inside, a little squirrely is Baker.
Baker was very squirrely there.
Black number 28 goes into second place. Waltrip on the point. Baker in second.
I'm expecting these cars to be a bit squirrely in this race because most of them will probably run their qualifying setup, which is really not the best way to race. But of course, for a short dash like this, they might have to.
1 lap down, 19 to go. Waltrip stays in front. Buddy Baker stays in second. Allison is third. Waltrip remains in fourth. Baker shoots down the inside for the lead. And now they're up well over 190 miles per hour. A 9-car draft, inches apart, covering a city block in less than a second. First lap, 173 miles an hour. Very slow speed. Baker in front. Waltrip stays with a 2-car draft. They're trying to break away from the field, David.
Well, if they manage it this early on, there'll be a couple of guys there breathing easy because at least one of them's going to get 18,000, but I don't think it's going to be that easy. The rest of the field will make up that ground on them, I'm sure.
That's what they want to do, is get 2 cars and break away from the other 7. And then decide it between them. There you see Pearson just back there in third, the Fox. Winner of so many Grand National races, over 100. Waltrip, the new young Charger, proved himself. He won the World 600, won the first race of the year at Riverside, California this year. Baker with a very strong machine. Second lap was run at an average speed of 193.966 miles per hour. Tight draft for the back straightaway.
The front 4 cars have definitely made ground. They're broken up into 2 and 2 there, and the second pair of cars have definitely pulled out a lot of ground on Neil Bonnet.
Pure race. No pit stops. It's all in the driver's hands. Coming by, completing 3, 17 laps to go for $150,000. Who will it be? Baker, who's always been the hard luck driver here, still in the lead. He's raced here since 1961, has never won the Daytona 500. He sat on the pole once back in 1973 with a Harry Hyde prepared automobile. Here he is trying to win one in this short dash. The third lap was run at an average speed of 194.384 miles an hour.
Cale Yarborough is lying 5th. He's quite a bit back now. He must be, what, 25 or 30 car lengths down on the second group, but he's pulling away from the group that he was with. He'll be getting pretty desperate because this race is going to be over very soon. He's going to want to catch up with that leading group because he's one of the 4 guys that's been running very fast this week, and I expect he'll be really wanting to get up there with them.
It's strategy all the way as they try to break up in pairs and get away from the rest of the field. And right now, successful at that maneuver, Buddy Baker in first. Darrell Waltrip running in second. with the third spot. David Pearson, 5 car lengths back, and in fourth, it's Bobby Allison with fifth spot. Cale Yarborough, 6 car lengths back. Lap 4 was run at an average speed of 196.936 miles per hour. Lap 7 has climbed to 197.802 mile an hour average, David.
Yeah, well, I said I thought it would be run at an average of over 190, and it looks like they're going to run the whole thing at about 195 mile an hour average, which is absolutely unbelievable. The thing you have to ask yourself is whether the tires on these cars will stand it. I'm sure they're not running on qualifying tires, they're running on race rubber, and it's going to get that rubber awfully, awfully hot.
Coming around to complete 6 laps. To the line. Still in the lead, Baker. Waltrip tucked right in behind him. Let's get a look at this speed coming up. 197.802, identical to the previous lap. Nearly 200 miles an hour, inches apart. What a prelude to the Daytona 500, which will be seen in most parts of the United States live tomorrow.
The race has broken up sooner than I thought into absolutely 3 groups of 2, or 4 groups of 2 cars, and poor old J.D. McDuff is bringing up the rear. But Cale Yarborough is dragging Benny Parsons along, and the thing is, can they drag themselves up onto that second duo of David Pearson and Bobby Allison in the time left? They're going to be very lucky, because I think they're still dropping further back.
Waltrip trying the inside for the tri-oval.
Because Waltrip at the moment has no reason to lead this race at all. As long as his engine's not running hot, and he's not running hot, he might as well stay just where he is.
It is a 2-car joust. Baker and Waltrip, both non-winners of the Daytona 500, seeking their first win in that great race tomorrow, which you'll see here on CBS. The 7th lap, 197.368 miles per hour. There is the second set of cars. That is the Thunderbird of Bobby Allison, the Mercury, number 21 of David Pearson. They are running 12 car lengths back from the lead pair. Here they are. Buddy Baker of Charlotte, North Carolina in the lead. Darrell Waltrip, Franklin, Tennessee in second.
Well, you heard what Darrell Waltrip thinks about winning $18,000 over $50,000. So the last lap, if it stays like this, is going to be very, very exciting.
The Masters at work. They shook off the other 7 cars, Baker and Waltrip, immediately while they were dicing for position, and snuck away, and that is the secret to Grand National Racing. Tomorrow we expect to see 12, 15 cars in a draft through most of the early part of the race. Baker's on the back straightaway.
There's the second group, been joined by the third group of Cale, and Bobby Allison is now dropped back. Cale Yarborough sneaking underneath David Pearson there, struggling for now what will be third spot.
Cale Yarborough lost an engine earlier on this day, running an untried engine, although it's been a dyno some up there at Junior Johnson's in Eagle Hollow, North Carolina.
Now the thing is, can those 4 drivers, with their superior draft of 4 cars, can they in fact pull up on this leading duo?
And there you see that quartet trying to string together and pull up on the leaders. They're the leaders in the last lap, the 9th lap at 196.937. They are coming to the halfway point this time.
Of course, although 4 cars does in theory give you a slightly better draft than just the 2, there's no doubt about it that when you're racing as close as these guys are, that you do just tend to get in each other's way a little bit. It's hard to think that they are actually getting in each other's way, but they are.
Halfway flags are put out on the field. 10 laps to go, 10 down. Baker stays in front. Kenny stays there. He loves to go fast. Remember, he was the first stock car driver ever over 200 miles per hour. That at Talladega, Alabama. There are the cars running 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, and they are running about 1.5 seconds from the leaders here in the Busch Clash. At the Daytona International Speedway in the Busch Clash of '79, the 9 fastest drivers, the 9 drivers who set on the pole for Grand National Racing in 1978, vying for $150,000 total prize. $50,000 to win, $18,000 for second. There you see first and second as Buddy Baker and Darrell Waltrip have hitched up in a draft and have broken away from the field. They couldn't decide it between them. Baker, who tomorrow seeks his first Daytona 500 victory, has been coming here since 1961. Waltrip has been on this track since 1973.
They're pulling inexorably away from the second group, which is Cale Yarborough, Benny Parsons, Bobby Allison and David Pearson. Darrell is playing a waiting game. He hasn't made one attempt to pass Buddy Baker yet. I'm not sure whether he really thinks he can, or whether he just doesn't want to show his hand, or whether he flat cannot get by. I thought he might have made one run, but he hasn't tried yet.
He shifts down to the inside every so often to scoop some fresh air into the automobile because the gauges begin to roll around and get red and rosy out there.
I think his eyes are doing about the same, too.
There are the third and fourth place cars. That is Benny Parsons, number 27, followed by Bobby Allison, defending Daytona 500-mile champion. Back to the leaders. Tight draft, inches apart at over 195 miles an hour. Last lap at 195.228. They have been as high as 197 miles per hour in this kind of drafting. Now remember, that car in front of this two-car draft is breaking through the wind. And like the wake off a motorboat, this car in second place is just riding there about half throttle, saving on the power, but he has to be very careful he doesn't overheat the engine.
Because the fascinating thing about the two-car draft is that, in fact, both cars end up going faster because the power of the second one, you've only got one vortex following the two cars, and they always end up going faster.
Baker qualified on the pole for tomorrow's Daytona 500, 196 miles an hour. He has been well over 197 thus far. 14 laps complete with 60 that last lap, 194.805, as they bring the speed down a little. It is a two-car shootout in the Busch Clash of 79 between Baker and Waltrip. Back straightaway. Waltrip noses down to the inside. Nudges alongside Buddy Baker. Into turn 3, he fireballs his way into the lead. Goes out in front by 1, 2, 3 car lengths. Waltrip now first, Baker in second. Out of turn 4, Baker reeling, Waltrip back in. Here they come for the tri-oval. Baker making another shot for the lead as we move to the final laps. Five laps to go. It's nose to nose for $50,000 in the richest race per mile in the history of motorsport. Baker back in front of Waltrip. Darrell Waltrip out in front. What about the last laps? How will Darrell Waltrip try to cope with this situation right here?
If you're leading the race, you're going to wonder where they're going to come from and what you can do about it. If you're laying back, you're going to be trying to think about making your move before anybody else. There's a lot of things to consider. I've run the race over and over and over again, and there's no surefire way of winning it. You just, if you could happen to get out in front and break the draft and pull away, that'd be great, but it's not that kind of event, 120 laps.
At over 195 miles an hour, inches or less separate these two as they almost touch bumpers out here. It is a game of improvisation being played at its very best right now.
Well, Darrell's made one pass. We've seen him do one pass. There's the rest of the pack, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, having a tremendous race on their own. But unfortunately, I don't think any one of those cars is going to pick up the $50,000 first prize.
Still, Baker holds on. Waltrip just feinting inside, outside, getting some air, gobbling it up into car number 88 to keep the engine cool for that final assault. And the difference is immense in first and second place.
He has made a pass. He does know he can do it. And the thing is, of course, Buddy Baker knows he can do it now as well. So it's all down to that last lap, and this is going to be a real heart stopper for everybody, including Darrell, of course.
Baker stays in front. He tries to draw away a bit from Darrell Waltrip, trying to pull away by himself now. And there you see the shadow of Waltrip with him. J.D. McDuffie pulls onto pit road as the laps run out. The ninth place car has come in. They come to the line, 2 laps to go. Buddy Baker is in front. Darrell Waltrip remains in second. Benny Parsons is in third. They're out of the running. It's a decision between these two for a difference of $32,000. Where does Buddy Baker want to be at the finish?
As long as you got an opportunity to try to win, that's the most important thing. But if you happen to get messed up drafting with somebody and start racing side by side and lose the draft to the lead car, you're in a lot of trouble. And it's a bad thing to be within 50 yards of the car and know you can't catch them for $50,000.
Well, this is it. They're coming down. The white flag is out. The field rolls down through the tri-oval area up into the banking for the final time. Baker in front, Waltrip in second. It's shoot and scoot from here, David.
Darrell has dropped back a little bit. This could be it. Buddy Baker may have just been lying a little bit low there, but Darrell Waltrip's got the draft down the back straight. Can he get him through 3 and 4 and up to the stripe?
Waltrip closes. Waltrip pulls on the outside. Baker pulls up and vetoes that move. Into turn 4. Waltrip will get one more shot. The 1,600-foot straightaway toward the finish line. Here they come. A difference of $32,000 goes to Buddy Baker over Darrell Waltrip in second place.
Well, $32,000 wouldn't look very thick on the ground in the distance between those two guys. Probably a foot and a half from Darrell Waltrip to Buddy Baker, the winner of $50,000.
And very close for third place to the line as they swap positions around coming to the stripe. Third place as they came to the line went to car number 11, Cale Yarborough, but it's all Buddy Baker. And really, this race was decided. The turning point was early on at about the third lap juncture when Baker broke through traffic. Waltrip made his move to lock up with him and decide the event between the two of them. That's the perfect race strategy, to try to get it down between two cars and then in a big long race like the Daytona 500 tomorrow, shake off that second place car. There was no opportunity to do it today. Now let's look again at the finish, David, as we see Buddy Baker headed for victory lane.
Well, Darrell Waltrip was trying to do the slingshot here, but he just hadn't got the power. That car of Buddy Baker's is incredibly fast, even on its own, and there you can see him.
Winning by less than a car length in the Busch Clash of '79. It's Buddy Baker in car number 28 headed for victory lane, and we'll be there with Brock Yates in just a moment. A brilliantly executed race for Buddy Baker, and with the winner now in victory lane is Brock Yates.
Congratulations, buddy. Herb Nab, sensational. You were a little shaky when you started this thing. You feel a little better now?
Well, I was confident I had the car. I've had so many things happen down here that you just never know. But I had the race car. I could drive around the bottom of the racetrack, and that was the difference. When Darrell tried to come up on me, I run the bottom of the racetrack, and he couldn't stick down there, and that was a winner.
And there you see the final results on the fastest motor race in history. Buddy Baker victorious at an average speed over 50 miles of 194.384 miles per hour. Waltrip in second, Yarborough third, Benny Parsons fourth, Bobby Allison fifth, Pearson in sixth, Lenny Pond seventh, Neil Bonnet eighth, and J.D. McDuffie shuffling along to ninth position out here. David Hobbs, if one were a student of motorsport, I think they would consider this the perfect strategy race on the part of Buddy Baker.
Well, being a racing driver, I think it's a driver's dream of a perfect race. Buddy Baker made a break from the second row of the grid and luckily only took Darrell Waltrip with him, and these two really were on their own from then on. Cale Yarborough, who would have been their main challenger, got stuck in the back of the pack and never made it through. Darrell made a pass on Buddy halfway through the race, but Buddy, I think, had the car for him, and he's going to have the same car tomorrow in the Daytona 500. It's going to be a very strong contender. But, of course, there are lots of variables tomorrow, more than today, 10 times the race distance, right, fuel consumption, wear, pit stops, yep, where all sorts of groovy things happen, like the car falling off the jack and this sort of thing. So, right, but it's still going to be a very strong contender.
Coming up next is the CBS Sports Spectacular, and you'll be witnessing some great racing from the highlights of the twin 125-mile qualifying races for tomorrow's Daytona 500, which you'll be seeing live in most parts of the United States here on CBS. That's the story of the Busch Clash. Baker victorious for Brock Yates and David Hobbs. I'm Ken Squire. The Busch Clash of '79 has been sponsored by Anheuser-Busch, brewers of Budweiser, Busch, Natural, Michelob, and Michelob Light beers.